All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get rolling. So hopefully you can see my screen and you're in the right place today. We're going to focus today primarily on the North Carolina Space Grant, known as NC Space Grant fellowships and scholarship opportunities that are currently open. I'm also going to briefly touch base on NASA internships and just some other things going on. But the bulk of this presentation, you're going to learn about the open opportunities. I'm going to walk you through the application system so you can see what it looks like and familiarize you with that. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks that we've learned from past fellows and scholars, folks who review your applications, as well as your mentors who are part of your experience, who also write your letters of recommendation for you. So first and foremost, I do want to let you know that if my screen advances, okay, hopefully my screen advanced. I am recording this session, and that is so I can post it online so that if you need to watch this again, you can do so on demand. I also got that request from a number of students who have classes during this information session, so we're going to make this available to them. If you do not agree to being recorded, you are welcome to go off video, change your screen name, do whatever it is you need to do. But I did want to let you know that this session is being recorded and will be posted at a later time. I'm going to open it up at some point to questions from y'all. I'm going to try to get through as much information as I can before I open up the mic for questions. Please be aware that because I'm in display mode, I won't be able to monitor the chat. So if you pop questions in the chat, I won't be able to see them. But similarly to if you don't want to be on camera or microphone, you can pop a question into the chat. So I'll do my best to get to those, but I cover a lot of information, so hang in there. Chances are that I will cover something that you want to ask. So quickly, this is me. At Kennedy Space Center back when I was about 10, 11 years old. Had no idea that I would end up working with NASA. But knew that's probably like y'all space grant stuff or space stuff was pretty cool. I really enjoyed my visit there. Hopefully you'll get a chance to visit someday. But here I am a bajillion years later, the assistant director for space grants. I'm the manager for the scholarship and fellowship programs. This is my contact information. Don't panic too much about jotting this down. You'll notice that it's on the web pages as well as in the RFP. So I'm not sure if any of you got notification about this experience, but you'll find my contact information in case there's any like personal specific questions that you need to ask me at some point of time. Just go ahead and look at the web and I'll show you how to navigate all that in a minute too. But this is me. So I wanted to talk a little bit about who we are and what we do and why we do it. That is also part of your application, is tying yourself and what you do to both NASA and Space Grant. So I just wanted to give you all a brief overview about that. So quickly, Space Grants, the official name is the National Space Grant College and Fellowship Program. We are a national program, so there's a space grant in every state, plus DC, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the US Virgin Islands. But here in North Carolina, we're able to tailor our program to the needs of our own state. We do this in partnership with NASA, the state of North Carolina, NC State University, where our office is based, as well as a number of nonprofits, industry partners, research institutions, et cetera, et cetera. That's just a brief overview of who we are. So what do? We basically, if you're like me and that 10-year-old picture, you think that something that NASA does is really great, is really cool, is really inspiring. And maybe it prompts you to be interested in studying something related to space or research on the International Space Station, or, using satellites to look back down on the Earth. But something about space you find inspiring, and we want you to explore your curiosity to build skills so that you can become part of the future workforce, not only just here in North Carolina, although we'd love you to stay here and contribute to the economy. We want you to build skills that enables you to follow your passions into your career choices through your academic pathways. So in short, we like to say we're developing the next generation of explorers, and we'd like to use these scholarship and fellowships as an opportunity for you to explore your curiosity inspired by NASA. Often when I go to conferences and meetings and people ask me, what is your job? What do you do? I think that popped out of presentation mode somehow. Is my presentation back in presentation mode again? Can anybody confirm that?
We can see your notes. I mean, like the notes display.
Interesting. Okay. Well, they're not that exciting, but let me see if I can change this. So just give me a minute here. Sometimes Zoom gets a little bit frustrating. So I'm going to stop share and start again. I just noticed that it popped out of that mode. I'm sure you all have had this wonderful experience in Zoom as well. And of course, it often happens even when we're on calls with NASA. So let me see if I can try that again so you guys have a better view. If not, you're welcome to see my notes. They're very thrilling. Okay. Am I in the presentation mode? Can anybody confirm that?
No, we're not.
Oh, I can see it.
All right, great. Thank you so much. So unfortunately, I can't see what you can see. Okay, getting back on track. So when I go to meetings and conferences, people ask me, what do you do for your job? And I jokingly say, we make astronauts, but there is truth to that. So if you become part of NC Space Grant and the Space Grant family, you are part of an organization that has created 2 astronauts. You will probably, maybe if you follow space news, you'll recognize these faces. I'm going to go ahead and start with the one on the right first.
Sandra, can I interrupt you? I cannot see what you're presenting. I can only see the PowerPoint.
Okay, did it go away again? I thought somebody confirmed, but let me see what's going on with Zoom and why it's acting crazy. All right, let's try this again. I'm going to stop. And let's try to start again and see why Zoom is being a jerk today. Maybe Zoom just has a case of the Fridays. All right, so hold on a second. Let me try this all over again. Come on, Zoom. Do what you're supposed to do. All right. How about now? Can you all see my screen?
I can see the notes mode, but
it's not doing the full mode.
I think you can the middle one, display settings. I think you can.
No, it doesn't, and I can't. As soon as I move over, I can't see what y'all see. And I move it over to the settings, and it's not doing it. How about now?
They're still in the note. We're seeing the.
All right. We're just going to go ahead and proceed in notes mode because I don't want to waste everybody's time here. And my notes are very exciting, so you can see what slides come up next. So let's just go ahead and roll through this and be adaptable like you have to be in NASA. Speaking of which, as I was just saying, you might recognize the astronaut Zena Cardman on the right. She was a science student over at UNC Chapel Hill, and some of you may know her because she was the commander of the mission that just had to come back down to Earth from the ISS early due to a medical situation of one of the crew members. So she was part of the NC Space Grant family, and she was the commander of that mission. Speaking of flexibility, you may also know that because she was actually supposed to have gone up to the ISS, International Space Station, months before, but the other crew's vehicle got stuck and her mission got pushed. So lesson learned, be part of the Space Grant family and learn to be flexible, and maybe someday you too can become an astronaut. So that's astronaut Cardman. Some of you may also recognize the astronaut on the left, which is Christina Cook. She was an engineering student over at NC State University. She got her start with NASA through NC Space Grant with an internship over at NASA. So there are astronauts that come out of the Space Grant family, and I wanted to introduce you to them. Oh, and by the way, the flight got delayed in February. Now we're probably looking at March, but astronaut Cook is part of the first female assigned to an Apollo mission and will be part of that crew that goes around the moon. So stay tuned and watch for that, hopefully in March. You may also recognize her because she was the longest serving female on the International Space Station, and she was part of the first all-female spacewalk crew. Anyway, so they got their start with NC Space Grant, and you can too. All right, so, but if you're like me, not everybody's going to become an astronaut. So, getting back to using NASA as an inspiration, we want to train you to become NASA's future workforce or part of North Carolina's broader workforce, and again, in industry or in research, academia, just something that inspires you to pursue STEM. And we do that through NASA and industry internship, team challenges and competitions, and the focus of today's webinar, which is going to be about fellowships and scholarships. So starting to get a little bit more into the current opportunities that are open. Presently, we have an undergraduate research scholarship open, as well as a graduate research scholarship open. This information is available up on the web. Funding levels are up to $8,000 for 10 awards for undergraduates and up to $10,000 for 13 awards for graduates. You're going to hear me repeating deadlines over and over and over again. We do not allow anybody to apply late for any reason whatsoever. And your package, your application package is not considered complete unless your faculty letter of recommendation also gets in on time. So please be aware of those dates. I had lined up quite a few alumni to talk to you about why they applied. Unfortunately, due to the weather, a lot of them had their classes or team programs and everything rescheduled. So we're going to skip over that. But just know that there were a number of alumni who are excited to tell you why they became part of Space Grant, and they're encouraging you to take the time to apply. Not only do you learn a lot about yourself and your own research through the application process, but it gives you an opportunity to form relationships with mentors. And if you are awarded, it's a great opportunity, but I apologize, the weather really screwed up everybody's schedules. So we're just going to quickly pop over to talk about eligibility. And again, all of this is online. I don't need to rehash everything. You can go ahead and read the slide, but a couple of quick points. You have to be enrolled full-time as a student next fall in order to be considered for this opportunity. You can be from out of the state, but you have to be studying at an accredited school in the state of North Carolina. So those are the key takeaways that I usually just want to make sure that people are asking me. Also, you can be currently at a community college and then become enrolled in a 2+2 program at a 4-year institution and be eligible. Similarly, you can be an undergrad going to grad school next year somewhere in North Carolina. If that is the case, you would apply for the graduate program, even if you're an undergrad senior, for example, this year. Right, let's advance. I am going to go through some of these frequently asked questions. So I apologize if I'm repeating a little bit on the bullet points, but some of this you need to just really make sure that you focus on. So the purpose of these is for students to be learning new knowledge, skills, and or abilities. So for example, if you're a PhD student finishing up your research and all you have to do is write it up, this is not the opportunity for you. You have to be engaging in research over the award period. If you're a PhD student, for example, who has to learn an entire new system or develop a new algorithm or develop an AI model in order to write up your research results, then you are eligible for this. But the point is, in your research, you have to be describing like something that's new and exciting and research-based to you. The award period is for 12 months, and the 12-month research plan is strongly preferred. And again, your applications are reviewed by external reviewers, and they're going to look at what you're proposing to do and the timeline you propose to do it in, and you're going to be scored on that. They do prefer 12 months of research, but yes, you can apply for a shorter period. For example, summer only, or I know that some students only, they're doing an internship this summer and then want to do academic year only, or there's even some students who are graduating early in December. You have to justify the research you're doing in the timeline that you propose, and you will be evaluated as such. So if you are proposing an abridged period, you have to make sure that the reviewers understand the depth of the research you still plan to conduct and how you plan to get it done in a shorter period of time. And the researchers are going to review that as such. So I just want to make that perfectly clear. I also want to let you know that payments would be adjusted. So for example, if you are summer only, you're not going to get the full 8 or 10. You're going to get like a prorated rate. You're only going to get the first 8 or 10 if you're actually researching the entire 12-month period. So if you're academic year only or summer only, you're not going to get the full funding amount. You're only going to get the funding amount for that abridged period that you propose. So hopefully that's clear to everybody. If your research is proposing use of either materials or labs or other equipment, you are expected to get that in time prior to the start of your research period. So don't wait until June 1st to see if you can book time in a lab. In your application, you're going to have to explain, like, I'm doing this research, but I have to get access to this lab, and here's how I'm going through the steps of making sure that I have access to this facility, or again, material or equipment or samples or whatever, so that I can conduct my entire research during the period of performance for Space Grant, which again starts on June 1st and is a 12-month period. So hopefully that's clear to everybody. We've already discussed this in my last slide, but I'll reiterate it. If you're an undergrad going to grad school next year, you would apply for the fellowship because you're going to grad school next year. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. Another point is that you can conduct research at your university, but you may also conduct research at a government lab or facility, as long as your work is being supervised by a mentor. So in your application, you do have to have a letter of recommendation for a mentor. That mentor is typically somebody who is at your academic institution, like an academic advisor or somebody who's doing the research that you are proposing. If you are working at another lab, you have to make sure that you explain that clearly in your application as well. Because the reviewers will be like, well, how does this person expect to have access to this other lab? Or who's going to work with them or supervise them on site? Like, they want to make sure all of that is clear. And finally, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that all qualified students who meet the eligibility requirements are encouraged to apply. This is open to students at all colleges and universities across the state of North Carolina. And so just know that you're competing against everybody in the state, but that everybody is welcome, and that students from every institution across the state have an equal opportunity to be reviewed and applied. And I looked back at my notes recently, and we have engaged with students and faculty members from 27 different colleges and universities across the state of North Carolina. So all are welcome and eligible to apply. All right. Next slide. So this is a very busy slide, and it's going to take a little bit of time to go through this, but this is where we're starting to get in the meat of how to help you prepare your application and how to go about using the system. So you've either had access to the website or maybe somebody forwarded you the RFP, which is an acronym for Request for Proposals. I want you to carefully read what's on the website and in the RFP. There is a lot of really juicy information in there that tells you exactly what you're supposed to do, how to go about doing it, and how you're scored and reviewed. So please read that really carefully and follow the application instructions. So I will tell you this, you are always welcome to contact me if you have questions, but if you email me or call me and you ask me a question that is actually on the website or in the RFP, I'm just going to point you right back to the RFP. So really, please take the time to make sure you read everything carefully because we've got a lot of really juicy stuff in there. I'm going to show you the system in just a few minutes, but I want you to make sure that you leave time to fill out our online application form. It only takes a few minutes. And again, I'm going to walk you through it, but it is an online system and things like that take time, to create your login, to put your personal information in there, like your address and stuff. So just make sure you're leaving time. In the next box, review the sample application system. I'm going to go through that with you today so you can actually look at in advance what the system looks like and know exactly what steps you have to follow. So we're going to do that today. I want you to make sure that in your essay questions, you're really reading those questions and thoughtfully responding to them. I know at times it's tempting to cut and paste from other proposals that you've done, or maybe even borrow from your faculty members' work or your lab. But the questions are really specific and individual to you. So make sure you're thoughtfully describing the goals of the research, but also specifically what you are doing. So I know a lot of you are part of a lab, or maybe that you're part of, a professor's research. So we see a lot of proposals that are basically cut and paste of what happens in a lab. So for example, like a proposal will say a lot of, we will do this, we will do that. Reviewers will not favorably look upon that. They want to know the purpose, intention of the research, but they specifically want to know, what are you as an individual doing to contribute to that research? So it's fine to say, I'm part of a lab and I'm part of a team, and this is the overall objective of the team or lab's research. But then you have to say, my role as part of this lab or team is to, I specifically will be conducting this experiment or looking at this or entering this data as part of the lab or team. So really make sure that you highlight your individual contributions if you are part of a broader lab or team. Otherwise, it is not favorably reviewed by our external reviewers. Do make sure you're aligning your essays to what is being asked. I'm going to show you the point system in a few minutes. And again, that's online and in the RFP. But we do ask you specifically to align your work not only to NASA, one or more NASA mission directorates, but also NC Space Grant Strategic Plan. And there are points scored for this. So don't short your explanation of how what you're doing is tied back to NASA and tied back to NC Space Grant. We do see a lot of students go really heavy in describing their research, and then they just skip over these other things. And then as a result, they don't score those points. And even if they have a really great research proposal, they didn't really answer all the questions in the essays, and then they don't get an award. And then they wonder why, because their research is so strong. It's because you didn't answer all the essay questions to the best of your ability. Again, you're describing what's new or what exactly you're doing. And so there's this last essay question, and we're going to go over those too, about how the award is contributing to your academic and career pathways. This is a chance for the reviewers to really get to know who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, what you're interested in pursuing, what are your passions, what drives you to do what you're doing, what makes you curious. And the reviewers really want to get to know who you are, because again, you know, when you receive an award from NC Space Grant, you become part of something really special. You're a part of the NC Space Grant family. And we really want you to take those essays seriously and use them as an opportunity to just tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do. Reviewers really respond favorably, point scoring, when you've really clearly articulated that. So for example, you know, in the past, we've had some students who are just like, I would just really like this award. I would really love the money. That's not going to be favorably reviewed. You know, if your essay question is more like, if I get this award, I don't have to get a job, therefore I'm going to spend more time in a lab, and here's what I'm going to do in the lab now that I have more time, and that's what I'm really excited to do, a reviewer is going to respond to that and give you more points in a much more favorable way. So please tell us who you are and why you are researching what you're researching. I don't advise that you use AI too much. I know that some of you may use it to, you know, come up with your research plan and fill in those blanks, and that's fine. But again, these external reviewers really know when students are using AI, and they have the ability to throw that into their AI review systems as well. So use it wisely if you choose to use it at all. And again, there's essays that are very personal to you, and your reviewers will know when you're using AI and they don't respond favorably to that. Again, I've already touched upon this, but I'll do it again. Cutting and pasting from a lab or a faculty grant where it's, you know, we do this, we do that, also not advised. I've seen a lot of students, particularly at the grad PhD level, get very unfavorably reviewed because the reviewers knew that all they did was cut and paste from a lab or a faculty grant. And again, they didn't respond to exactly what their role and what they would be doing. So even though the research was really great, reviewers didn't really respond favorably to things that they clearly thought were cut and pastes from, you know, a lab or a faculty grant. So use your time wisely in that regard. So evaluation criteria, again, we're fully transparent. We're telling you exactly where and how you're going to score points. So spend your time wisely where you score points. But again, you know, don't short things like talking about your alignment to NASA and Space Grant, or talking about yourself and your career pathways, because that can make a huge difference in your total score. So again, we're telling you exactly where and how you're going to score points. So again, use your time wisely with that information. So getting into a little bit of tips that we recommend, and that we've also heard from alumni, faculty mentors, and reviewers. The first one is, of course, go online and do your homework. Like if you're an undergrad and you don't know what goes into a research plan, like make sure that you understand the elements that go into a research plan before you start writing this for your application. Same thing with like methodology. What is that? How do I go about doing that? Make sure you take the time to understand what has to go into those research plans, because again, you score a lot of points there. Similarly, you know, what are the NASA mission directorates and NC State strategic plan? We give you links to those on our website and then in the RFP. So, you know, take a few minutes, you know, put down the TikTok and take a few minutes and look at this stuff instead. See where your curiosity guides you, and make sure you understand those things, because again, you are scoring points for those. A great tip that we've gotten from folks is that, write your essays in a Word or a share drive or whatever application you use so you can go back and edit it a lot. Share your work with your faculty mentor, members of your lab or team. You may think what you write makes sense, but again, these are reviewed externally. It has to make sense to external people. And although our reviewers are all professionals from academia or NASA or industry, you have to explain things in a way that they're going to understand. And although I do match, for example, engineers to engineers, astronomers to astronomers, the people that review your applications may not be an expert in the exact specific thing that you're proposing. So you have to make sure that you're explaining things in a clear way so an external person can understand it. So if you write your essay questions in a way that you can share it and get input back from trusted other individuals, that will make your essays stronger. We especially recommend that you do that to a faculty advisor, specifically the one that you may be asking to write your letter of recommendation for you. That way they are also bought into what you are proposing, because again, they're going to be writing a letter of recommendation on your behalf. And when their letter of recommendation matches what you're saying you're doing in your research, it will be more favorably reviewed and you will score more points. We have seen sometimes research proposed by a student and a letter written by a faculty member, and what the faculty member says you're doing does not match what you say you're doing. That does not get favorably reviewed. So take the time to make sure that your faculty advisor also understands your research. I'm going to show you this in the system, but quickly, undergraduate students, you will be writing in like a Word or something, and then cutting and pasting your essays into the system. Graduate students, you're going to upload your individual essays as PDFs because your research is a little bit more advanced and you have the opportunity to include graphs, charts, and images of some of the research you may have done. Whereas undergrads, you are going to have to learn to use your words to pitch your research because grant writing is really a big part of all of your future career work. So be aware of that. A major tip that has been provided to us by faculty advisors, which are also the people who write your letters of recommendation, is to ask them well in advance. I have heard from faculty members that they do not want to be asked to write a letter of recommendation for a student no less than 3 weeks before it is due. Remember, they have jobs, they have families, they have work, they have multiple students. So if you ask them at the last minute, they're not going to be very happy about that. Your letter is not going to be very strong. So use your time now to cultivate your relationship with the mentor who will be your advisor for your research. If you don't have one, you still have plenty of time because you're on this webinar and you're hearing this to cultivate a relationship with a faculty advisor. You go to them now and say, hey, I'm thinking of applying to this scholarship or fellowship. Here's some of my research ideas. What do you think? Great. Go write some stuff up. Go back to them. Here's where I am. What do you think? Go back to them. Hey, here's the parts where I may need you to mentor and advise me. Here's the parts where I think I can work independently. Great. Your research plan matches their letter of recommendation. Their letter of recommendation is stronger because you've taken the time to go over all of that stuff with them. So take that time. Do not ask them at the last minute. They hate that stuff. Also recognize that they have a deadline from when their letters of recommendation are due. So your proposals are due on a Friday by 5 p.m. Mentors have to get your letter of recommendation in no later than Monday, like 3 days after. If you wait until the last minute to submit your application, that link does not go to your faculty advisor until you submit. So not only do they know that you've submitted at the last minute, you have given them not a lot of time to upload their essays on your behalf. So yes, there is a deadline. Yes, we kind of know that, people push it until the last minute, but know that if you wait until the last minute, that gives your faculty advisor less time to upload, and they may not be happy about that. And if something happens like a winter storm or a family emergency, you're not really giving them a lot of time to upload that letter. And then your application won't be reviewed if you don't have it. So that's my scary, nasty message of the day, but just letting you know. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to show you the actual system so that you get familiar with what the application system looks like so that it's not so intimidating when you do your application yourself. So I'm going to try again to switch screens and hope that Zoom cooperates, although I'm not confident in that, but let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to ask somebody to come off mute and please confirm whether or not you can see my screen. Can somebody confirm verbally whether they can see my screen?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, okay. Hopefully Zoom won't kick me out again. Okay, so if you go on whatever search engine you want and you just do NC Space Grant, you'll land on our website. This is what it looks like with this awesome James Webb picture on the front. When you go to navigate to look for your scholarship or fellowship, it's going to come under higher education opportunities. I'm just going to scroll down and choose undergraduate research scholarships because I get to pick whatever I want. So, okay, so this is what the page looks like. This is our awesome former student from Winston-Salem. Again, deadlines, blah, 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 all this stuff. So quickly, the overview, who we are, what we do, what we're supporting, the scholarship period, all this stuff that we talked about today, deadlines, all of this is on our website. So again, if you want to kind of go review where am I scored points, and then I love this section. I call this awardee expectation section. There's no such thing as free money section. So like, if I get this award, what am I actually supposed to do? So everything that you need to know is up on our website or in the RFP. If you want to see some past scholars, you can click that link to see who we're funding this year. It's also a really good idea to do that to get an idea of what people put in for titles. So all of this stuff is available on the website. When you go to create your login in the login system, you will click Start Application. And then you will go and create your own unique ID. If you have applied to NC Space Grant in the past, you will still need to do this because every time it's a new cycle. I'm going to show you what the system looks like through this sample application. And this sample application is the same thing it's the same aesthetic, it's the same look, it's the same content of the actual application, but obviously I cannot go log in. So I'm going to just show you what it looks like through the sample application. So when you create a login, this is exactly what the system likes and looks like. And so this is where I showed you, take a few minutes to make sure you have time to fill out all the information in the application system, not your essays. So it's going to ask you your name and your contact information. We ask you for your home congressional district. We're going to the Hill next week to ask for continued funding. We like to know where you all are from across the state. So this is information for us. Here, you're verifying that you're a U.S. citizen. You're going to take a few minutes to put your where you go to school, what your major is. Some schools call it programs. You get the point. Where are you? What are you as of the spring of 2026? Am I a junior? Am I a senior? Blah, blah, blah. When you expect to graduate, your GPA on a 4-point scale. Again, for this opportunity, you have to have a minimum 3.0 GPA. That's a NASA standard. Appreciating that some of you go to institutions that no longer work on this scale. you should call your academic office and ask them conversions, because NASA, a lot of employers still ask you for your GPA, and your academic institution should be able to instruct you how to convert that if your school is not on that scale. So contact your academic institution first and ask them about conversions. If they're not helpful, then call me, but they should be able to do that because tons of people still ask for GPA. In order to verify your GPA, you do have to upload transcripts. I would go ahead and request your official transcripts now. You have time, but again, in the application system, you will have to upload your transcripts, and stuff like this takes time. So just know you're going to be asked to do that, and make sure that you budget your time wisely. This is why, again, we tell you don't wait till the last minute to do all of this stuff. This is just information for us about the highest degree you might want to obtain and what you think you're going to study. This is where you're going to tell us who your mentor is. That way, when you click submit, eventually your mentor will get an email. You might want to tell them in advance that the email is going to come from this email called notices@spacegrant.net. They should look out for that email because that's going to give them instructions for submitting their letter of support. And I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. But give them that email so that it doesn't go to junk or they delete it. So you're going to submit that so that when you apply, we know who to send that to. Okay, this gets into the bulk of your actual research application part. You're going to put a title here. Please, nothing fancy or tricky. Just say what it is you're researching. Your reviewers don't want some convoluted fancy thing. Just say what you're doing. And again, if you want guidance on what a title looks like, go look at our past scholars and fellows and see what theirs are, so that you come up with a reasonable title. So undergrads, again, you have essays that have word counts. And graduates, for those of you applying for the graduate fellowship, you have page limits and PDFs, and I'll show you yours as well. But you have word counts, and you'll cut and paste it, no graphs, no images, no nothing. So all of your essays are right here, and if we give you the word counts, these are not huge word counts. We're not asking you to write a thesis here, but please be aware that we expect your responses to be thorough. So all of the essay questions, links to this stuff are here with the word counts. Here we're asking you specifically what your primary mission directorate alignment to NASA is. So again, take the time to understand those NASA mission directorates and where your research fits. I mean, honestly, there's nothing that NASA doesn't research. So you'll be surprised if you even Google NASA and whatever it is you're interested, or space and whatever you're interested, something will pop up and your curiosity will lead you back to the NASA mission directorate. Some of you may even have a secondary. So let's say I'm looking at some kind of space technology, but that will contribute to human operations. So you would select, I'm just space technology as your primary and exploration systems as your secondary. So some of you may have a primary, some of you may have a primary and secondary, that's fine. This is your personal essay, where again, we expect you to really talk about how it's going to impact your career and academic pursuits. How is this award going to impact your future academic and career interests? So take the time to do that. You're just going to click some acknowledgements. Yes, my mentor knows this. Yes, I have to do a final report, blah, blah, blah. In this box, you're going to list any past or present financial aid. If you have been a recipient of a space grant award, you're going to need to put that in here because you're only allowed to have up to 2 per award. So you can have up to 2 undergraduates, 2 graduates. You may also have some other opportunities that you're funded on. If you're already being funded on a NASA award through an internship, a faculty advisor, you cannot also have this award. NASA does not allow for what we call double dipping. So you cannot be funded on two NASA things at the same time. You can be funded on something, for example, for the DoD or NSF and receive this, but you and I are going to have a conversation about your actual capacity and your wellness to see whether you can be a full-time student, do this research and research on another grant. So we're going to have some conversations if you're getting funded on a bunch of other stuff. Same thing, have you gotten an award, blah, blah, blah. So optional information, this is standard federal demographic stuff. It is optional. You don't have to put anything in here if you don't want to. We also fully recognize that you all are not radio buttons and click boxes, and you are bigger and better than all of these boxes will indicate. Nonetheless, it's the standard federal information. It does help us if you do put this information in. We want to make sure that we're really recruiting from all populations reflective of the state from across the state. And so just doing this information, it doesn't go anywhere except back to us so that we can make sure we're actually reaching demographics that are reflective of our state. A really helpful box for us, if you fill it out, is how you heard about Space Grant and this program. That way it's like, we know how we're reaching you. It helps us to know like maybe where we have shortfalls. So it really does help us if you let us know how you heard about this opportunity. And then finally, this is the certification that you're going to click that if I get this award, yes. And then again, these are all the money for nothing things. I'm going to do the final report. I'm going to go to the space symposium and so on and so on and so on. So that's what the undergrad application looks like. And then hopefully Zoom will allow me. I'm going to show you quickly what the graduate looks like. Blah, blah. So I'm just going to go into the sample. Again, you would start your own application, but the sample is the same thing. So same stuff up here, same exact fields. I just want to show you. So for grads, PhD students, same thing, title. But this is where you're going to do uploads for your individual essays as separate PDFs, but you still have to choose your NASA mission directorates. But otherwise, you're going to upload your essays as separate PDFs. But otherwise, the system and the application looks exactly the same for you. Now, I don't have these buttons because I'm showing you the sample. But you can save your information as you go and go in and out and in and out and in and out of the system as many times as you want until you click submit. And again, I show you the submit button because I'm in the sample. But you can go in and out. And so a lot of people will go, like this weekend, fill out, your personal information and your educational information. Get your transcripts, upload that at another time. Go talk to your advisor, upload that. So don't wait to do this at the last minute because these fields do take a lot of time. And I do want to show you what your mentor will see. Let me just see if it'll let me navigate back to that. Oh, hold on a second. Sometimes it lets me do this, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. So I'm going to go to the sample mentor letter of recommendation just so you can all see what the mentor sees. We're not playing tricks. We're not surprising you. So after you submit your application and your mentor gets that email that says, hey, go ahead and submit your letter of recommendation, this is what they're going to see. They're just going to confirm their name and title and institution, and then they're just going to slap their letter of recommendation in here. And then the fact that they're agreeing to be your mentor. So I just wanted to show you that there's nothing tricky or fancy, and we're not asking your mentors a bunch of personal questions about you. This is the system. This is exactly what they get. So that's what the mentor part of it looks like as well. So again, no surprises to you all. Before we continue, I'm going to go ahead and stop share and take a brief moment and check the chat and open up the mic and see if there are any questions. So hold on, let me check the chat. Okay. If possible, please share a link for application. No. As I've said, if you can go to the website and do it yourself, you can go on the website and do it yourself. I'm not going to send that to you. So you're capable of Googling it and going on our website. Okay, next question. Can grad master students apply, or is it only PhD? Again, this is answered online on the website and in the RFP. So I'm not going to answer questions that you can answer the questions for yourself. Okay, open mic. Go ahead. Anybody who has I see somebody with a raised hand. Go ahead. Yep.
Hello.
I see you too. Hi.
I have a question about the for the graduate fellowship. So, question about the transcripts. How far back do we have to apply, or is it only for our current institution? So, do we submit our like masters or bachelors or anything more?
Okay, so again, this is already answered in the RFP, but I'll review it quickly because there are some exceptions to this rule. So we're asking you for your fall 2025 transcript. Okay, so it's your fall 2025 transcript that we are asking. I will make two exceptions to this rule, however. You have to have a 3.0 GPA. Okay, so let's say this fall you had a really crappy semester and maybe you got a 2.8, but your other academic work is really strong. So cumulatively, you have a 3.0. In that case, you may want to upload multiple transcripts, right? So if you had a bad fall semester and you need to upload more than one to demonstrate a 3.0, then yes, you may upload more than one transcript. But otherwise, we're just asking you to upload your fall 2025, your latest transcript, and presumably that has your GPA that is a 3.0 or higher. Hopefully that helps. The other exception to this rule is that I know that there are some transfer students and or some community college students doing the 2+2. Sometimes in those unique cases, it is beneficial to upload more than one transcript if you are, like I said, a transfer or something else that shows maybe I switched schools and I went from out of state, now I'm in state, or maybe I was community college and now I'm, at a 4-year, and to prove your GPA, like sometimes those cases are helpful. But for the most part, we're not asking you to upload every GPA ever. We just really want last fall. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what if we're at a stage where we started, we're not taking much coursework? Like we took a lot of coursework and we already have like the good standing GPA, but like the last one only shows like, like a seminar class or something. Is that counts against the applicant?
Yeah,
or?
I would go that's a really good third case example. Then yes, like if right now, like a lot of PhDs, for example, are and like you said, are registered for like a seminar only, or they're in their thesis writing, right? You may want to upload last year as well. The reviewers will understand that if you're like a final year PhD student and your transcript says seminar only, yes, because you do have to be a full-time student as of the fall 2026. So that might be another really good case where it's beneficial to upload multiple transcripts. And even state in your application that you are a final year student doing whatever it is that you're gaining your new knowledge, but I'm enrolled full-time, and just stating that clearly in your application. That is an excellent question. Thank you for clarifying that. And I will make sure that I add that little sneaky thing to future webinars that, yeah, if you're yes, seminar only last year writing, but you are enrolled full-time, it's worth clarification. Great question.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Sorry, go ahead.
Ladies first.
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if this is the RP, but so if we have like for the NIH or like F-31 type applications, sometimes they ask for information for like animal protocols or any logistics about the institution. Um, how much of that are we supposed to, like for example, animal protocols like IACUC, do we also need to provide that if we are working on these in our proposal?
Right. So yes and no. So you do have to submit your research plan within the page limits we provide you. So you may want to say, like, for example, if you have to go through an IRB or an SIP or whatever that process is, make sure you're stating that in your proposal. And remember how I said that you have to make sure that any labs, facilities, equipment, materials you have to have in time for January 1st for the award period. So you would need to explain in your essay, for example, that you will have IRB clearance or whatever NIH clearance in time to conduct your research during this award period. So that will need to be explained. But no, we do not require specific protocols to be submitted for these award purposes. So if you do that, we're presuming that you're following those research protocols under your current lab and faculty advisor. You may want to ask your faculty advisor to reiterate that in your letter of recommendation that you are under their supervision following whatever protocols are appropriate.
Got it.
Because yes, we do have a lot of those because we know that there are a lot of those experiments going up on the ISS. So yes, we do have students doing that, but no, we don't require that for ours. Does that answer your question, hopefully?
Yes, thank you
It
so
was
much.
an excellent question. I'll try to remember to put that in the future as well. Excellent question.
Okay.
Okay, August, you're up.
Hi there. I'm wondering if you are not ready to apply this year because you do not see any research, but you're planning on getting involved in research down the line. Are all the deadlines pretty much the same annually, or should I check back in on the website next year because deadlines may have changed or there's like a different timeline?
Oh, that is a doozy of a question, and I'll tell you why. I'm gonna say theoretically, yes. We open the same research at the same time every year. But as you will note on our webpage, it says contingent upon federal funding. So if, for example, there is a government shutdown or we don't get funded or something that really stresses me out and turns my hair gray and makes me pull my hair out, like we have experienced, there may be delays. However, theoretically, yes, sir, we release almost the same opportunities at exactly the same time every year. So call your congressional representatives and encourage them to keep funding space grants.
My mom works in politics, so I completely understand that. That makes sense.
Well then, yes, they will tell you how to reach your congressional representatives today and tell them to keep continuing to fund space grants so that we can get these awards out to you at the same time in the full funding amount year after year. But I do have good news. We do already have our money for this year, and it looks like we're getting our money for next year. And the reason is because all of you students are so awesome, and you make all of the congressional representatives' districts look so good because we fund students from all across the state that they love our program so much because you guys are doing great work and you represent our state beautifully. So we do get funding. Everybody knock on wood, even though you're probably sitting around plastic. Knock something for us. But hopefully that answers your question to the best of my ability.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Other questions? Again, now I can see the chat, so you can pop them in the chat or raise your hand or just come off mic. We're casual. Okay. So I'm going to quickly go back to my presentation, assuming, Zoom's just being a jerk today, but I'm going to go back to my presentation. I'm just going to quickly share one or two more slides with you so we could hopefully wrap up in the next few minutes. Okay, hopefully you can all see the screen about NASA internships.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not even going to try to do it presentation mode because Zoom is having a Friday. Just quickly, I do want to let you know that NASA does have internships open. You can, you can use your whatever search engine and just, put in NASA internships. I put the link here. But honestly, you could just pop in any search engine, Google internships, or go to our webpage and see that. The deadline is coming quickly, February 27th. You're going to find some of the fields on their online system not dissimilar to the stuff that we ask you. But I would take the time to do it. I will tell you that North Carolina Space Grant, we tend to sponsor and fund only undergrads. NASA often picks up and funds grad and PhD students. Undergrads, your summer internship is funded at a level of 8,200. Grads and PhDs, I believe that NASA funds you over $11,000 for the summer, just so you know. So I would encourage everybody to apply for NASA internships. That's how Astronaut Cook got started. She had a NASA internship, loved it. Now she's an astronaut. So apply for NASA internships. Usually what happens, just so you all know, you go into this system, you apply for one or more internships. NASA decides to fund you directly, or they may call Space Grant and say, hey, will you fund this intern? So sometimes we have students that, like Christina Cook, that get an internship at NASA and Space Grant pays for it. So just to let you know how it works. But you have to apply directly for those opportunities. And if you're someone who's applied in prior years, I do need to let you know that the system has changed this year. So in past years, you would upload one resume, and then you could click as many internships as you wanted. Now they're not doing that. Now you have to upload a resume for every internship you want to apply for. And the reason they changed the system is actually there's a lot of students who wanted to customize their resume for specific things. So it does take a little bit more time to customize, but hey, you have to do that for job applications anyway. You might as well learn to do that now. But if you go to apply for an internship, just know that you have to apply to each one separately now, as opposed to just clicking a bajillion buttons. And yes, bajillion is an actual NASA number. So, okay. And then I think my last big content slide is that for those of you who are on this webinar, you're probably very space-minded. And I do want to let you know that on April 10th in Raleigh, North Carolina, we're having our 2026 NC Space Symposium at NC State. If you're already doing space-related research, or even if you're someone who's interested in what's going on, meeting like-minded students, connecting with folks in commercial space, there's this awesome symposium. Registration is going to open in early February. I think it's actually going to be late February now. We're running a little bit behind because of all the weather and everything. But if you follow us on social media, or, obviously you got information about these opportunities, so you'll probably get it through the same channel. But registration will open in February. I will tell you that for this type of symposium, it is very inexpensive. I think we only charge students like $35 to come. Normally, opportunities like this would probably cost you hundreds of dollars. This one is only like $35. So come check out other students' presentations, hear from, fancy NASA people, although honestly, we're not doing NASA people this year because of the government shutdown and all that hot mess. But our keynote speakers are all commercial space people this year, I believe. But you'll meet other students and you'll get a chance to network. So come on down to the symposium and come meet us, say hello, and learn about what other students are researching across the state. And that's about it. So make sure you're following us on social media because you'll learn not only about opportunities with NC Space Grant, but we often post opportunities from others who are offering internships and scholarships and fellowships. We give you interesting news from NASA and commercial space and our other local partners, including our commercial space partners when they're hiring, especially on LinkedIn. When they're opening jobs or, like I said, internships, we usually post that kind of stuff to you all on our social media accounts. So go ahead and follow us, and then you'll get information on even more opportunities that are available. And that's all I got for you. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing and one more time ask you if there's any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts you want to share. Otherwise, again, on the website, there's my contact information, my email and phone number. You're welcome to contact me anytime. If you have a specific question, but again, read the RFP in the website, because chances are your question will already be answered and I'll point you there anyway. So, okay, I'm only 5 minutes over. That's not so bad for me. So, and I'm going to blame Zoom for the delays. So thanks for your patience with Zoom being finicky. Sometime within the next week or two, I will have the presentation and/or a video up and online and available so you can watch it on demand in case there's something that you missed. But, go ahead and poke around. The weather's supposed to be crappy again this weekend. So take your time, start your application, poke around those NASA mission directorates, and be curious and be amazing and do great things and save the world, because, we didn't do such a good job. So we're counting on you to fix it for us. So go do great things. And I'm looking forward to inviting you all to be a part of the NC Spacecraft family.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you, you too.
Bye.